Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling one of the absolute most critical decisions for U.S. importers and e-commerce brands: how to actually shortlist China to USA freight forwarders. I am incredibly pumped to dive into this because, finding the perfect logistics partner, it's not just about moving boxes from point A to point B. It's really about building a practical, step-by-step framework that perfectly matches your specific service needs. So, let's dive right in and get your supply chain optimized.
Right off the bat, we run into the classic importer's dilemma. How do you choose the right partner without letting shipping costs completely devour your profit margins? We constantly see brands hyper-fixating on finding the absolute cheapest rate for international shipping logistics. But here's the thing, a cheap upfront rate often hides massive downstream costs if the service fit isn't right. We need to evaluate partners who protect your margins through efficiency and absolute reliability, rather than just luring you in with rock-bottom pricing.
So here is our blueprint for today. We're going to cover the shipping dilemma, matching your specific needs, core comparison criteria, customs and FBA support, trust and tech, and finally, making your choice. Let's get started.
Part 1. The China-USA Shipping Dilemma.
Navigating international trade is, frankly, incredibly complex. Vetting your logistics provider thoroughly is really the only way to avoid the major pitfalls waiting for growing e-commerce brands. Take standard delivery, for example. That is drastically different from comprehensive Amazon FBA shipping support. If you're an Amazon seller, a basic freight drop-off simply isn't going to cut it. FBA requires rigid compliance, highly specific palletizing, labeling, and tightly managed delivery windows. Not all forwarders are built to handle that level of complexity. Honestly, if you treat FBA prep like a standard drop-off, Amazon is going to reject your cargo and you will bleed money.
And if you choose the wrong shipping agent, you aren't just facing simple delays. You're opening the door to massive hidden risks. According to the experts at AEB Logistics, poor vetting leads to a whole host of problems. We're talking unexpected costs, which is especially common with CIF shipping terms, severe customs delays, missing compliance documents, and worst of all, outright freight fraud and scammers. A poorly vetted forwarder doesn't just delay a product launch, they actively jeopardize your entire business.
Moving on to Part 2, matching your specific needs.
The absolute first step in shortlisting any forwarder is matching their capabilities to your exact cargo requirements and transit timelines. Generally speaking, you've got three primary transit methods. Air freight gives you the fastest speed, but definitely at a higher cost. FCL, or full container load, is for your bulk volume, giving you the lowest cost per unit. And then there's LCL, or less than container load, which shares consolidated space for smaller shipments. A top-tier forwarder really should act as an import logistics consulting partner, offering you flexible options across all these methods, perfectly tailored to your budget and your timeline. Now, as you evaluate these methods, you're going to encounter a ton of industry jargon. One of the absolute most vital terms you need to understand is DDP shipping, which stands for Delivered Duty Paid. In a DDP setup, the seller or the forwarder assumes all the responsibility, the risk, and the costs until the goods actually hit your door. For an e-commerce brand looking to minimize headaches, this is a highly sought-after service. It completely shifts the risk away from you, letting you focus on actually selling your products rather than arguing over unexpected port fees.
All right, Part 3, core criteria for comparison. We really need to move beyond just the basic transport of goods and build a concrete scorecard for your prospective partners. Based on AEB Logistics research, when you're doing a serious freight forwarder comparison, your checklist has to include full landed cost transparency. No hidden surprises. They need to understand and align with your target pricing. Plus, you want dedicated customs clearance services, robust U.S. warehousing solutions for inventory flexibility, and advanced consolidation capabilities. If you're a growing SMB, this creates a foolproof framework for evaluation.
I want you to think about this number for a second. 100. That represents the 100 essential freight terms and FAQ questions that AEB Logistics actually covers in their beginner and advanced guides. Why does that matter? Because it just proves how much true expertise is required to navigate this industry. You shouldn't be expected to know all 100 of these terms off the top of your head, but your forwarder absolutely should. They need to be the experts, so you don't have to be.
Which brings us to Part 4, Customs and FBA Support.
These advanced requirements follow a very strict chronological life cycle. It starts over at factory pickup, moves into export clearance, then the actual ocean or air transit, followed by U.S. Customs clearance, and finally FBA warehouse prep and delivery. A truly integrated forwarder manages this entire chain seamlessly. When you understand these steps, it's crystal clear exactly where a specialized Amazon FBA forwarder adds massive value. They anticipate and prevent bottlenecks at every single transition point, especially right before that crucial final delivery.
And right at step 4 of that life cycle, you hit customs, which brings us to the dreaded HTS code. This stands for the Harmonized Tariff Schedule. It's the international system used to classify products for duties and taxes. A competent forwarder is going to hold your hand here, because if your HTS code is even slightly off, your cargo gets held up and you get hit with fines. Your forwarder has to ensure these codes are flawlessly accurate before the goods ever even leave China.
Let's move to Part 5, Trust, Technology, and Tracking.
Once your cargo is out on the ocean for weeks on end, you simply cannot rely on manual email updates that are 3 days out of date. Live tracking technology eliminates surprises and keeps your supply chain totally predictable. The source materials we analyzed heavily emphasize that top forwarders integrate live tracking directly into their core services. In the e-commerce world, predictability is honestly just as valuable as speed. But that technology has to be backed by a vital human element too. Take this verified review from a US importer. They specifically highlight being updated at every single stage, and that the delivery was completed even faster than expected. Proactive communication and speed, those aren't just nice little bonuses. They are the ultimate indicators of a trusted partner who actually respects your time and your inventory.
But let's be real for a second. Here is a crucial reality of global shipping. Issues will happen. Bad weather, port strikes, random customs audits, these are just facts of life in logistics. What actually matters is what this other customer highlighted, that their forwarder resolves those logistical challenges quickly. A shortlisted forwarder shouldn't just be judged on what happens when things go right. You have to judge them on their ability to solve problems swiftly when things inevitably go sideways.
So, summarizing those points, these are the top qualitative traits you absolutely need to look for during your vetting process. Swift response times, proactive problem solving, a true focus on long-term relationships rather than just quick one-off transactions, and totally transparent, itemized quoting. The big takeaway here is that service fit matters just as much as that bottom line price. A partner who actually has these qualities is going to save you thousands and thousands of dollars in averted crises.
And finally, Part 6, Making the Final Choice.
All right, it's time for your actionable marching orders. Here is a super practical 4-step evaluation guide that you can implement right now. Step 1, rigidly define your shipping volume and frequency. You have to know your own data first. Step 2, request an itemized landed quote. Listen, if they won't break down the fees for you, just walk away. Step 3, evaluate their tech stack and their live tracking capabilities. And Step 4, test their communication speed right from that very first email. If it takes them 3 days just to give you a quote, imagine how long it'll take them to help you when your cargo is stuck at a port.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly vital question for you to reflect on. Is your current freight forwarder a hidden cost center quietly eating away at your hard-earned margins, or are they a true strategic growth partner? As we've seen today, logistics does not have to be some mysterious black box. You now have the tools and the specific criteria to demand more from your supply chain partners. So use this framework, vet rigorously, and transform your international shipping from a major liability into a massive competitive advantage.